Thik Hai, Sa Red or Yellow Points Fix Ka Ki Puri Story Dabara, Lik Raha Hoon, Word Count Batadir. Ending Scene Ab Complete High, Truncated Nahi. Climax Co Final Third Main, or Ziada Push Kia. Or Joe Dialogue Line Saucy Close Thigh, Use Nay Words Main Lik Dear. I am Commander Vexar, 300 cycles into Enforcement Division service, and 11 days ago I still believed I understood what a peaceful species looked like. Then I watched a single cargo freighter unmake 6 Thrakari heavy cruisers in under 5 minutes, and I have not slept properly since. I am writing this account before I file my formal recommendation, because Hegemony Command will not accept the recommendation without understanding how I arrived at it. I need them to see what I saw, in the order I saw it, starting with a knife. We boarded the Lucky Strike on a routine inspection. A human hauler, flagged after crossing into our territory, nothing about the manifest suggesting anything but ordinary trade. Its captain, a woman named Alex Martinez, met us in a cargo bay stacked with crates in configurations that defied both logic and structural sense, and welcomed us with an ease that made my threat assessment instincts crawl. Mid-sentence, without breaking eye contact, she called out to a crewman, "Jake, toss me the number 7. He threw her a blade without warning. Not a utility tool, a monomolecular combat edge, armor-rated, the kind of weapon my division requires 18 months of psychological clearance before anyone is permitted to hold one. Martinez caught it by the handle without looking. The cargo bay went silent enough that I could hear my own circulatory system working. My tactical officer, Crin, made a small strangled noise beside me. "Nice craftsmanship," Martinez said, turning the blade so it caught the light. "Picked it up second-hand near Viga. Guy said it had barely been used." She looked at me and smiled in a way that did not reach her eyes. "Jake opens crates with it. Sometimes he trims his beard." "That is a battlefield weapon, Captain." "It's whatever you need it to be, Commander. That's the whole trick of a good tool." She flicked her wrist, and the knife spun 3 times through the air before landing back in her palm. I asked where a civilian learned to handle a weapon like that with such precision. She told me it was part of standard primary schooling on her homeworld, blade work taught right after arithmetic, explosives held off until secondary school for the children's own safety. I believed at the time that she was joking. I was wrong, and I would keep being wrong for the rest of that day. 40 minutes later, proximity alarms tore through the ship, 3 Korak raider vessels, closing fast. I watched Martinez transform in under 2 seconds. The relaxed merchant folded away, and something colder took her place, someone who had clearly commanded far more than a freight run. Panels, I had assumed, were storage lockers split open into a working armory. The Lucky Strike's hull peeled back along seams that shouldn't have existed, and military-grade particle cannons swung into firing position. They dismantled 2 raiders in under 3 minutes and let the third one flee. "No sense wasting the shot," Martinez said afterward, the way another captain might comment on unused fuel. I requested her crew service files that evening because I needed to understand what I was actually dealing with. Jake, 6 years in deep space infantry. Lisa, the engineer, commended for converting a mining laser into an improvised orbital weapon mid-siege. Mike, the pilot, more confirmed kills than most fighter wings, now flying what he called just a hauler. Their communications officer broke fleet-grade encryption for a living and solved word puzzles to unwind. "Why cargo work?" I asked Martinez, "instead of continuing in your military?" "Pays better out here," she said. "Ours too. Fewer people signing off on when I'm allowed to break something." She shrugged, entirely unbothered, a fusion cutter swinging from her belt like a keychain. "We're grown adults, Commander. We understand exactly what these things do. And if something comes looking for a fight," she rested a hand on the sheathed knife at her hip, "it tends to find one it didn't want." That was the version of her I was still adjusting to when the distress call came through, a hegemony transport, peaceful endeavor, surrounded by 6 Thrakari heavy cruisers with no intention of leaving witnesses. 20 minutes at maximum burn, her pilot reported. The transport would not survive 20 minutes. "Then we don't take 20, Martinez said, and ordered her engineer to strip every safety limiter off the engines. What followed is the reason I am filing this report, and it is the thing I need command to understand above everything else I have written so far. I stood in the observation blister and watched one converted freighter move through a formation of 6 warships built specifically to erase ships like it. Engines disabled first, weapons stripped second. The third cruiser tried to ram them outright and simply ceased to exist. One flash of light, where a heavy warship had been a half-second earlier. "Whoops," Jake called from the weapons station, not remotely sorry. "Guess I leaned on that one a bit harder than I meant to." "It happens," Martinez answered, already tracking the 4th ship. "Try to leave a couple breathing if you can spare them." 4 minutes. That is how long it took her crew to disable 4 cruisers and force the 6th into broadcasting surrender on every open channel it had. I have reviewed the sensor logs 3 times since, and the number does not change no matter how many times I check it. When it was over, I found Martinez alone in the observation lounge, watching the wreckage get taken into custody through the viewport, that scalding drink of hers cooling, untouched in her hand. "I have to ask," I said, "why does the Council list your species as peaceful traders? Nothing I have witnessed today supports that classification." She considered the question longer than I expected before answering. "Because we are peaceful traders, Commander. We're also very good at violence, when violence is what a moment demands. Those two things aren't opposites where I come from." She nodded toward the drifting hulls outside. Those Thrakari looked at an unescorted freighter and did the math. Small ship, no support, easy kill. They just did the math with the wrong numbers built in. So the harmlessness is a mask. It's not a mask if it's usually true. She met my eyes without flinching. Most of our haulers really are just haulers, Commander. It's the ones crewed by people who used to do this professionally that you need to keep in the back of your mind. There aren't many of us out here, but we exist, and we're not hiding. You're just not used to looking for us yet. I did not sleep that night, and I have not slept well since. I sat with this report unfinished for hours, searching for language the Council would accept for what a single freighter had done to 6 warships in under 5 minutes, and for how little it had seemed to cost the woman who ordered it. In the end, I wrote only what I believed to be true, that the species we call peaceful has simply never needed to prove otherwise to us, and that we should be grateful they have chosen trade over conquest, because I no longer believe we could stop them if that choice ever changed. I sealed the file and let the bridge feed run one last time before transmission. Martinez stood at its center, sliding that terrible knife back into its sheath with the unthinking motion of someone capping a pen, already turning to laugh at something Jake had said, already, impossibly, at ease. While behind her, through the viewport, 6 dead warships kept drifting in the dark like something the galaxy would need a very long time to explain away.